Good morning. Welcome back to Brandon Farm. It is Thursday morning. Yes, Thursday, March 16th, about 10:30 in the morning. We've been on spring break all week and we've been loafing it. We've just been hanging out, sleeping late, lounging around the house, drinking my coffee. I'm in the greenhouse this morning. It's about 66 degrees down here. Feels pretty good in the greenhouse, but it's super windy outside. So I think we have some storms rolling in today. So I'm down here in the greenhouse this morning before it gets too crazy. One thing that I am really kind of concerned about is this wind and blowing over my greenhouse. It's not staked down. It's just sitting on top of like a wood foundation. It's got me a little bit concerned. My husband and I were talking about putting like T-posts in the corners, like on the outside. I misunderstood him the first time. I thought he was talking about the inside, like drilling a hole in the inside and then putting a T-post on the inside, which to me would be kind of better because then you wouldn't see it from the outside, but hey, you know, whatever. Putting it on the outside and then kind of attaching it to the corner somehow. Don't ask me, I have no idea. He asked me to drive T-posts, but we don't even have any T-posts. So fun fact, do not mind driving T-post. It is not, well, I don't know if I'd say fun to me. It's like a workout, right? It's farm chores. And I like that kind of stuff. It makes me feel like I'm doing something good. Like, I was telling my husband the other day, like I should just drive T-posts all the time and then just move them all, you know, along the yard or whatever. So drive it, pull it out, move it, drive it, put it out, you know. Farm chores. Get that farm workout on. Okay, so today's agenda, I'm gonna try to be brave and I'm gonna try to separate all of these tomato plants. So this is from my freak out moment. And I keep saying that, but we're not totally done with the freak outs. There's another tray of freak outs up here. So when I say freak out, I mean like the day that I came home and all of my seeds were soaking, I panicked and I put like 80% of them, some dogs barking. Yeah, my chicken's out. Hang on, let me check. All right, I think we're good. Those dogs get to barking and I got PTSD and I wasn't even here when it happened the last time. Whenever they got into my yard, hopped my garden fence and trying to get into my chicken run. Terrifying. I don't know what I would do if I saw that. But anyway, everything's fine. What was I saying? So like 80%, I would say I put in the ground. Cross my fingers, hope like heck that they come up because that's a lot, right? I mean, I spent a good chunk of money on seeds this year and some of those seeds were from last year, but like most of them were from this year. And I was trying to like start my little collection of seeds and everything got like ruined. And I put everything in the ground that I could and then I seeded a bunch of stuff. And up here, you can see I overseeded the heck out of them, but look at these roots. I mean, they're doing amazing. So I'm happy to see that, but this is like cabbage. I don't know if I should be separating cabbage. I might try just because I have a whole bunch to see what that is gonna do. Separate the cabbage and the lettuce and then the tomatoes. Tomatoes, I definitely want to put an emphasis on this year because I have two really long tomato beds that I've tarped. And so once my husband puts like the little holes, the little circles, all in the plastic, I will plant all of my transplants out there. So I need my transplants to get taller because I'm going to prune them to a 2-liter system. And when I get there, of course, I'll show you what that means. If you want more information on that, a good resource is Whispering Willow Farm. Jill Reagan over at Whispering Willow Farm, she prunes her tomatoes, and so does Mindful Farmer. And I need to fill up the bird feeders today before it gets too windy. Otherwise, they'll just like flap around in the wind and it's not good. That's what we're doing today. We're gonna be brave. We're gonna grow messy. We're gonna learn from our mistakes. And I don't know if you would call this a mistake because some people do this intentionally. I feel like it's just time to start separating. They're getting their true leaves. These are black Krim tomatoes. And you know, honestly, I want a bunch of different varieties of tomatoes, but I'm not gonna be picky this year. I just want tomatoes. I don't care what kind they are, I just want tomatoes. I got 2 beds designated for tomatoes and I want to put a huge emphasis on tomatoes because that's what I love. I love coming down to the garden and picking a tomato and eating it. It's a huge bird. I'm like helicopter momming it with these chickens today. I don't know why. They're fine. They're okay. I just get weirded out. I'm a very protective chicken mom. Let's see if we can separate some tomatoes. Got the bird feeders filled up. Gave the chickens a treat because they were freaking out because every time I fill up the bird feeders, they're like, where's my treat? Anyway, so I'm gonna go turn on the water because this soil has kind of dried out overnight and I don't want to pot my seedlings in dry soil. I want my soil to be kind of moist before I plant in my seedlings. And I think I'm gonna do all of my tomatoes in these green pots. The ones that they were already in anyway. I'm just gonna separate them out because they're still pretty small. I'm gonna go turn on the water, and when I'm done, I'm gonna water the rest of these too because they're all kind of drying out a little bit. Ooh, got dirt all over my face. Okay, so I'm gonna drink my coffee on my way up there, check on the kiddos, turn on the water. I'll see you back in a bit. All right, switched out my coffee for my water. Squirt this down a little bit. Go. Tell you what, that's a game changer having that water hose so close, and I can just bring it into the greenhouse and keep on working. Okay, I'm gonna mix this up, nice and moist. Oh, Mr. Wormy. The worm compost, I keep finding worms. I'm gonna go put him outside. Whole thought process was to make soil blocks and seed all of my tomatoes in soil blocks. That's what I wanted to do. But when I had that freak out moment, all of my seeds just went in like regular pots because that's all I had at the moment. So maybe next year I can do the soil blocks, a heavier emphasis on soil blocks because that's what I wanted to do. Okay, so I'm gonna get my little green pots here. I'm gonna fill up. I don't know if I want to go all the way to the top just because I want to be able to backfill just slightly. Just gonna fill up some cups here. I mean, we probably have 18. So this soil is peat moss, perlite, blood meal, bone meal, and worm compost with some worm castings mixed in. I don't know if that's the right way or if that's like the best formula, but that's what we're working with. I can see some roots coming out the bottom. Yeah, so they've got a pretty decent root system. Fill pots. Another thing I'm gonna do before I get started, because I'm procrastinating, because I'm still kind of intimidated by separating tomato seeds, is I'm gonna make tags. Okay, so if you don't make tags, let me tell you, you think you're gonna remember, but you won't. You won't remember the variety. You might think, okay, well, I know this is a tomato, but I don't know what kind of tomato it is. And then when you go to transplant it out, you're confused on where to put it. Like I said before, I'm gonna do an indeterminate and determinate bed. Now, determinate means that it's just gonna grow to a determinate height. So it'll basically grow to a determinate height, and then it'll just start bushing out. Versus indeterminate, an indeterminate tomato plant will grow to an indeterminate height, so infinitely tall. That's where you get those like 6 feet plus tomato plants. And you have to trellis those. So I'm gonna do a huge trellising system on one bed, and then the other bed I'm just gonna like just let bush out. So you need to know what variety you're planting out. That way you know which ones you need to trellis. That's more labels, but I'm itching to get started. So let's get started. I tell you what, it's really, really hard to film in this greenhouse now that I've put my shelves up because my tripod will not sit underneath my shelves. And it would be way better if it did. I'm gonna put this tray underneath here because I wanna be able to catch all of this good soil that's coming out. Here we go. I'm gonna squeeze my sides to loosen up my soil. Oh, look, here's one on the end. Let's see if we can just kind of, oh yeah, look at that. We can do this. Look at that. Okay, so that's one little tomato plant and its root system goes all the way down. That is bananas. This one doesn't really have its true leaves yet, but it looks like it's working on it. So I'm just gonna take my little dibber, I'll make a little hole. I'm gonna drop that root in there, and I'm just gonna move the soil around him. Does that count? That counts. I didn't really backfill because he's so tiny. Well, look, we got a little tomato, a little black crim tomato. Okay, number 1 out of 18. You can see, I mean, there's just a ton in there. Okay, and that one I felt a little snap He still has some roots. He doesn't have a whole lot, so I don't know if this guy's gonna make it. See, this is where little teeny fingers would be so much easier. Okay, so with tomatoes, you do want to plant them a little deeper. You can go up the stem because they will root from the stem. So when you transplant tomatoes, you want to actually plant your tomato deeper than where the soil line is because it will root all the way down that stem. All I'm doing is loosening that soil, gently pulling that root up. Look at that. That is the craziest, wildest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Little teeny plants with these giant root systems. It's blowing my mind. So I'm not really packing it down. And then after I get it planted, I'm just putting it in my tag. So far, so good. I can do this. We're growing messy. We're having that confidence to just do the hard things. We're learning. See, when I snap it, I wonder if it's popping off that long root. And these will all get bottom watered probably until they're ready to go in the ground because I have that capability currently. Probably not good to hold your breath while you do this. And what doesn't survive, well, doesn't survive. And you know what? That's completely fine. Just from that one pot, so like one of these, okay? All these black cream tomatoes, I got 28 of these pots repotted from the one pot, if that makes sense. So one of these little overseeded pots made 28 single pots. What I'm realizing is, well, one, when your seeds get soaked, yes, I think it is okay to overseed your pot, okay? Because they're doing healthy, all the root systems look really good. But maybe not put so many in one pot. So like keep it like under 16, maybe not 28. And actually I had 2 that were so teeny tiny that I just didn't even pot them. So really there was 30 plants trying to grow in one little pot. So I've got several more of these to pot. I think I'm realizing now that I'm gonna run out of tags and I'm probably gonna run out of pots. I'm gonna have to like pick and choose which ones I want to save because I don't think I'm gonna be able to save them all. And I don't think I'm gonna be able to repot all of my cabbage and lettuce. And I think kale is the other one I have up there. But I do wanna put an emphasis on tomatoes. So I'm saving all of my pots for the tomatoes and we're gonna see how far I can get. So far I have 28 little tomato plants that will hopefully grow into full-size tomato plants. Either I can give them away, do a plant sale, and then I will plant some of them out. So I'm gonna put tomato plants in the keyhole because I want to experiment with the keyhole. And then I have in-ground beds that I want to put tomatoes in as well. So you're shaking because of this greenhouse and it's windy outside. Storms are blowing in and I'm kind of freaking out because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this thing staked down. So I'm gonna go find some T-posts before I start repotting all of this. I'm gonna get some T-post drove into the ground in the corners of my greenhouse so I can at least try to stake it down because they're talking like 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. We had one bad storm before and the greenhouse held up pretty good, actually really good. I'd feel better if it was staked down. So I'm gonna go find some T-posts and the T-post driver, drive some T-post with them. T-posts. My husband's gonna have to finagle that to get it to attach to the greenhouse. So I'm gonna separate the rest of these tomatoes. That's what my day's gonna look like. Just wanted to hop on and show you what I'm doing. Thank you for watching our channel and hanging out with me. Be sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you like our channel. My videos have been kind of hit or miss here lately and I'm sorry about that. But we'll get back into it. Spring is just right around the corner and there'll be a lot more projects and plants and transplants and plant sales and all things plant. So anyway, grow messy. Drop it in the comments on how you're growing messy. I want to know. And we'll see you later. I think my other freeze frame is pretty similar to this freeze frame. So let's change the angle and let's put you over here. How about that? I even curl my hair for you. Freeze frame.